Good morning, everybody. This is Renee Flowers.
Good morning, Renee.
I'm taking my grandson to school, so I don't have my camera on. I'll switch it on when I get back to my house.
Same here. Drive safe, Renee. It's really bad out here.
I know, honey. It took us a minute just to get to my car from my front door.
Good morning. How is everybody this morning?
All right.
Good.
Hi, by the way, it's good to meet everyone. I'm Victoria. I'm the Special Initiatives Manager at HLA. I've been at HLA since March. I was in housing before, and now I'm doing special initiatives. And Amy has asked me to be here to do roll call and everything for today's meeting.
Is this whole meeting on Zoom, or are they meeting in person also?
They are also at Allendale. They did have to get one down.
Yeah. Okay. I have to say, Amy, you look pretty cool with the stained glass windows as your background.
I agree. I think that should be a permanent thing.
In fact, I think what Amy should do is always have some like organ music, more eerie. It'd be pretty cool.
For anybody who's unable to see the chat, Amy's just asked that we change our Zoom names to reflect our real names and our organizations for the purposes of sign-in. If you are unable to do that, unsure how to do that, please let me know. Or if you are on the phone or driving or something like that, please let us know so that we can, get you down.
Can hear them.
Victoria, can you hear us?
It's connecting right now. All right.
Yes, we can.
Margie, do we have quorum for membership
I
here?
have to look at the sign sheet.
Okay, we're checking quorum one more time. Give us just a few minutes, guys.
Who is it that is calling in right now from a phone number that ends in 433?
Michael says that the echo adds to the mystery.
It's because it wasn't on the owl. It should be better now.
Marty, do we have?
We have quorum. I'm sorry.
Okay, good morning, everybody. We do have a physical quorum present here, which our rules necessitate, and then we have a lot of people joining us online, which I'm sure we will log their attendance at the meeting. But I will go ahead and open the Continuum Care Annual Membership Meeting for November 5th, 2021. And thanks everybody for being here in person, who is here and braving the rain. Thanks to everybody who is attending on Zoom. Again, we've been doing this for quite some time now, and please bear with us for technical difficulties. If you can't hear or see something, put it in the chat, and we will do our best to engage everybody. So I just want to welcome everybody.
Let's do that just for the record.
So we'll go ahead and do introductions for the record, and I will start with Mr. Cooley to my left.
Good morning, Doug and Cooley with the Pinellas Community Foundation.
So we'll go over here.
Kevin Brown, Holy Centers. Karen Andrea, Holy Centers. Mark Lutheran, Holy Villages of America.
Imaj Brookwood. Vicki Thompson, 201 Tampa Bay Cares. Jennifer Arteaga, Children Welfare Board.
Lisa Jones, representing Councilmember Sanders.
You're here. That's it.
Glenn Wilder, Southern Supportive Services.
Kelly Barrett, Volunteers of America. Laurie Morissette, Council.
Ross Silvers, PSTA. Chris Kovac, South Oxford Management.
Avery Sliker, HLA.
Margie.
Oh, sorry. I'm trying to work. Margie Ishler, Homeless Leadership Alliance.
April Lott, Directions for Living, Chair of the Providers Council.
Amy Foster, HLA.
Sean King, Chair of the COC. So you want to just log on?
Yeah, I can't see everybody because I'm screen sharing, so.
Pinellas CoC community.
Jennifer Strasik, Alpha House of Pinellas County.
Michael
Renee
Gelazzo,
County Commissioner.
Michael Gelazzo Perk.
Michelle Snyder, Empowered to Change.
Nicole Leslie, Family Resources.
Gabe Para, City of Clearwater.
Esther Matthews, All Administrative Solutions.
Sam Picard, Missio Day.
Kelly Hill, Tarpon Springs Housing Authority.
Stacey Gallick, Baycare.
Sheriff's Office Colonel Carey.
And Zach Hayes.
Kevin Schnall with the Salvation Army Clearwater.
Kimberly Kernan, 211 Tampa Bay Cares.
Connie Castle, HEP.
Rachel Smith, Directions for Living.
You missing anybody on Zoom that didn't introduce yourself?
Stacey Gallick from Baycare.
Victoria Kelly, HLA.
Good. All right, thanks everybody. I know again it's a little bit difficult with our hybrid model, but thank you and thank you once again for being here. We'll go to the second item on our agenda, looking back and looking forward. Same process.
Thank you. So too often we sit in these meetings and are working together to solve problems that are really intractable problems for our community. And so over time, it can feel like everything's going wrong. And we have a lot going right. So I thought that this membership meeting would be a good opportunity to celebrate the work that you and all of your staff have done over the last 10 years. The AHAR report recently came out so that you can understand, even though every day we are dealing with not enough space and shelter and the things that have challenged us with COVID over the last 10 years, there's a lot of good things happening in our community. And in many ways, we are on par or excelling from national data. So I wanted to take a few minutes to share that with you and then share with you what is coming next. So in the past 10 years, homelessness in Pinellas County is actually down 43%. I know some days it doesn't feel that way. We still have a lot of work to do. I think none of us will sleep until we know that no one is left behind and no child is sleeping outside. But this is a point of pride for our community that we should really celebrate. In the United States, homelessness is only down 9%. So, you know, as a community, all the additional resources that funders on this call and our state with DCF and others have invested here in Florida has really made a difference for us. You know, one thing I like to look at stats in different ways because sometimes numbers can go down, but population affects that. And so we are still doing better than we were, even when you look at it a different way. So in 2010, for every 10,000 people living in Pinellas County, there were 43 people living unhoused. And in 2020, there were 22.8. Statewide, it's 18 for every 10,000 people living in the state. So we're a little worse than the state on average. Probably no surprise to many of us with the market we have here and the type of jobs and wages we have in a hospitality industry. But again, we're making some significant headway here that should be celebrated. So when we look at sheltered versus unsheltered, and one of the reasons I wanted to look at this is in the last year, so I'm going to track this moving forward, nationwide, there is a significant trend that unsheltered homeless are going up, which is not what we want, right? Even if people have to become homeless, we hope that we're able to shelter them in some kind of safe environment. And so I wanted to see what was happening with our sheltered versus unsheltered count. In Pinellas County, again, this is over the last 10 years, our sheltered count is down 24%. Compared to the nation, that is down 10%. And this is one I think we should really be proud of. Our unsheltered count is down 60%. So that means more people are getting into the safe places. And in comparison, nationwide, that's 12%. So for individuals, our homeless count is down 30% over the last 10 years. Our veteran count is down 39% over the last 10 years. This is one that we still have a lot of work to do. You've heard us talk in meetings recently that our veteran count is going in the wrong direction. We have just hired a veteran system director who will be doing a lot of the strategic planning and working with our VA partners and others to help address this. She's a former lieutenant colonel, still a reservist, and has a history of homelessness from her childhood. So I think you'll be really excited when you meet her. But we want to be at least where the nation is. We should have already ended veteran homelessness. There are enough resources provided to make that happen. So we're recommitting to that as a community and hope that next year we're going to have some better results to tell you about. So families is something we spend a lot of time talking about here, and it's a tension we hold that we have to take care of our individuals, but I think everybody has a special place in their heart for our littles sleeping in cars or on the street. And many of you have spent time on a regular basis in the last couple of months joining case conferences to help ensure that we do not leave a child outside. And so this is one that I think will touch many of you, that here in Pinellas County, our family homelessness is down 71%. And I think that's worth celebrating. Nationwide, family homelessness is only down 29% in the last 10 years. So again, we're doing really well there. Youth homelessness is down 13% here in Pinellas County. I do want to mention that when I look at the last 2 years, there's a troubling trend of a 5% increase in youth homelessness. So youth are defined up to 24 or 25. I may have that number one off. And so this is another area where you'll see us recommit to next year. But again, we're still doing better than the rest of the United States there. So let's talk about chronic homelessness. Later in the board meeting today, we'll be talking about Built for Zero. See if I can move this or not, if I moved it too far. Later today, we'll be talking about chronic homelessness and that being one of our goals for Built for Zero. And this is an area that we are really struggling with in our community. Over the past 10 years, the number of chronically homeless individuals has increased by 25%, while in the United States, that number is only up by 4%. But the good news is that even during the pandemic in the last 2 years, this number's decreased by 20%. So we have some momentum going there, and we need to continue to work to address that. So here's a little bit about our housing rates, right? It's what matters to us is that we successfully house people, and once they're housed, they're able to stay housed. So over a 10-year period, we housed 16,000 people with a success rate of 33%. In 2019, it was about 2,000 people, similar success rate. In 2020, that number is going down. Obviously, we had a pandemic and lots of other challenges, but the success rate is also going down. So this is an area we need to dig into a little bit more and ensure that we're able to continue to house people at the rate that they come into our system. And we want to increase that success rate for recidivism. So what's happened in the last 2 years? Many of you, I'm sure, have struggled with staff challenges, with social distance challenges, with all the things that none of us knew were going to come at us. And so I took a look at just 2019, which was pre-pandemic, and 2020 to see, are we still going in the right direction, or do we have some challenges we need to look at? And in those 2 years, total homelessness is down 8%, unsheltered is down 3%, sheltered is down 10%, chronic homelessness is down 20%, and veteran homelessness is down 16%. So we're still going in the right direction. I think considering that there's significant historic level of dollars and resources in the community, we'd like to see this higher, but we all know that we can't address homelessness without addressing housing. And this tells me we've got to continue to focus on that. So what's the next couple of years gonna look like? You all know that we are committed as a continuum of care to address our racial disparity. We should all be ashamed that our work in this area is, as much as we are committed to it, is going in the wrong direction. But I will tell you from my research, it is on par with what's happening across the country. So I think our current rate is about 40%. And in our community, that shows we have a huge race disparity. That is also true across the nation. We're seeing about 1 in 4, or I'm sorry, 4 in 10 of every homeless person is Black or brown. We already talked a little bit about moving towards Built for Zero, and the plan is that we'll rinse and repeat. Once we solve chronic homelessness, then we'll move on to the next population, and we'll do it one chunk at a time. In order to do that work, we need all of you. We didn't achieve these numbers. This is really your success today that we're celebrating. So we'll have to continue to work to build membership and non-traditional partners to help us achieve our goals. We're right now starting a campaign to help change the face of homelessness, so it's not the guy on the street that you may think of. And what are the reasons behind that? Certainly, we all know that mental health and our lack of investment in it here in the state of Florida is a part of that challenge, but many people here become homeless because they're the working poor. And so helping people understand the nexus there. And then we will embark next year on some listening sessions, not only to hear from our elected partners and our municipal and government partners, what do they need from us? How can we make their jobs easier? What kind of data do they need? What do they need to do their job well, and how can we assist them in that? But also sessions to ensure that we're amplifying voices of those with lived experience. And we need to start incorporating people with lived experience into every environment, not just our Continuum of Care board, but on every committee. And so we'll be working to address that. This is a picture from a Built for Zero campaign. They believe homelessness is solvable. I think all of you believe it's solvable. That's why you spend all your time, talent, and treasure with us. And we know that's not easy. You all have your own organizations to run. There was a recent article I'll share with everybody where we had to talk about our community, and we celebrated the commitment of our partners and how we believe homelessness is solvable because everyone at our tables have the will to solve it. And so we're going to need that will to continue. And so this is what success is going to look like. It's not okay for us to move to zero unless we equitably move to zero. And so we have to ensure that we do that in a way that doesn't leave any population behind, and particularly our Black and brown neighbors. And once we do that for the chronic population, I already said we're going to do that one population at a time. So we're going to shift, we're going to end, and then we're going to repeat. And today is really about committing that no one's going to be left behind. And we're moving forward. We're going to make sure that no child is sleeping on the street, and we can do this whenever we all work together. So thank you for giving me a few minutes to share with you the fruit of your work, because I know when I saw these numbers, I was pretty impressed, because it does feel like we're often like chugging up a mountain that we're never going to be able to reach the summit. And this just really proved to me that we're on our way up, and we just need to continue the hard work. So thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Councilmember.
Thank you, Amy. That was amazing information. I'm a big data person, so I appreciate that. I have a couple questions. Number one, can you share a copy of that? Okay, great. And then where did you get the numbers from?
So the numbers all come from the AHAR report, which is the annual homelessness report to Congress. So I can share the link that goes along with that as well.
And then when you talked about housing rates, the slide there, I just wanted to be sure I understand. How do we define the success rate? Is it 1 year to make
recidivism is 2 years.
2 years, okay. Yeah. And then I think, as we talked at an earlier meeting, I think just before, that those stats are amazing, and I love that we're celebrating positives. But I don't want people I advocate with to think, oh, well, we're doing a great job and we just got to keep doing what we're doing. And that's why I think those narratives that we want to try to bring in the listening sessions and bring the lived experiences are really important, because I don't think the stats are moving the needle enough. And so it'll be exciting to see what next year brings with the narratives and putting a face on the work.
Yep. So to give some context, because I do think we have to remember that every one of those numbers is a person and there's a story behind that. Last year we housed 1,300 people approximately. We have 18,000 people come into our system every year. So we have a long way to go. If we continue to house at the rate that we're housing at right now, you know, we won't be able to claim success. So I think Kathleen makes a good point that we need to continue to tell the story that there are thousands of individuals and families who need us not to stop the work, but to double down.
Yeah, with the evictions moratorium lifted not so long ago, is there a wave of homelessness that came through that may not have calculated with some of those?
So we are tracking that, Buddha. I can tell you that we are definitely seeing an increase coming into the system, not at the rate that I think we thought we would see, but I can tell you just the last couple of weeks, the number of open cases has quadrupled. And so, you know, we might be on the precipice of a tsunami, but we just don't know that yet.
Do we have anybody on Zoom with any questions or comments?
Well, I'd like to just comment that I appreciate you sharing the 10-year trends, because, you know, I go back to where we were 10 years ago, and even prior to that with HLN, the Pinellas County Coalition for the Homeless, and every initiative, that while we still have work to do, that we can see some progress. And I think that I agree with the sentiment that we celebrate this, you know, in the sense of what we've accomplished, but we still have a long way to go. And looking at it like a spectrum, we've made progress, and I'm glad that we're able to recognize that. Thank you.
Anybody else? Zoom?
I just want to say I agree that speaking from the provider perspective, that it's important that we celebrate the successes. I don't think anybody is taking their eye off the ball about how much more we have to do, but to be able to say to staff and to organizations and to people who are working really hard that it really is making a difference over, you know, if you take the long view as opposed to, you know, every single day there's people that we're struggling to help or struggling to serve, that if you take the long view that we really are making a difference. And I'm going to take that information back both to my board of directors and to the staff, because I think it helps them double down. I think it helps fuel them to say, we got this, and to want to continue to work really hard.
I had the same comments Mr. Daniel had. I think taking that 10-year view and kind of that 30,000 foot overview is perfect. We get into the weeds on our quarterly reports at the board meetings, as we should. But I think this annual meeting is a perfect place to kind of take that 30,000 foot view in the 10-year, whatever time frames. And I also like norming it to per population. That makes a lot of sense. Since I've been on this board, you know, there's been a huge focus on data, right? And I think this is some of those fruits of that, is kind of saying, how can we get better at looking at our data, and to Councilman Beckman's point, kind of telling a narrative or showing a narrative with the data. So appreciate the HLA, and I'm sure a lot of people had hands in putting that together. And I think it kind of encapsulates, you know, what we're doing. Question I had is, you know, I know as a community, we shifted at a point to housing first. And I'm just wondering if, where that kind of was, or if we see any trends in that data to kind of drill down a little bit more to show like, maybe 10 years prior, this is our numbers, and now 10 years forward, or maybe it's 5 and 5 or something like that. Because I have a feeling just knowing that the numbers that we see coming out of rapid rehousing recidivism and that kind of stuff, that we'll see a better trend line as more and more of those units and the funding has come online for those interventions. Ms. Jones.
Yeah, just a quick question. As a representative funder who's dedicated lots of resources to trying to address homelessness, can that data be disaggregated? Let's say aggregate for Pinellas County. I'm curious to know if it can be.
I don't know that it can, Teresa. I can ask Brian that question, but these are all based on HUD reports that are for Pinellas County. I'm not sure if we'd be able to deaggregate that by city, but I'll ask.
I do think that's an excellent question, though, that Teresa's asking more to council, right? Because showing the investments, right, and where some of our municipalities have not stepped up, and others who truly have stepped up, and that some of these numbers, there may be, a funding source or two that's carrying the larger majority of this. And if we, back to your point, and if we had everybody, stepping up and stepping in and those kinds of things, how much more progress we could even make. So I think that's an excellent, not that we can do it, but I think it nonetheless is an excellent question and an excellent point.
I know what we can trend, and there is a question in intake forms about where you slept last night. And so we can trend, for example, if Clearwater, if those numbers are going up, and St. Pete, if those numbers are going up, are they going up at the same rates? So I'll see what we can do that gets to the point of what you're looking for, which is the idea that when we invest, we're able to make a difference.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and even, just to be real transparent, even if we can't pull out that aggregate information, at least we can say, this is how much St. Pete is contributing from their general funds or whatever programs, and this is how much Largo or Pinellas Park or Clearwater, articulate what different cities are putting in, what percentage of it is from their budget. Let's just be transparent.
Thank you. Excuse me. Very nice. I want to say, probably sprang out into the night, but I have organic. Okay, it started with one. Said, it's like my cousin that told me that you can do this for me, and so I referred her to the people I know, which is Amy and April. Okay, and so Amy and April were successful. St. Challenge, my first, second, third, whatever clients. Okay, so now I have 16 women. It's all that. They all have to have the partner who said, well, I heard from such and such a quick. All right. And so the answer I can tell you now, when I tried to challenge her, call 911. Now, Amy just said that these cases are all human beings. All right, equal, just like probably equal trouble. So some of them are more equal than others. That's why we have a large gap, okay, with 11% the population and 33% of the homeless population. And so what I'm trying to do is hyperspace these people who historically and traditionally don't get any care. Okay. You know, it's like, and it's like, I'm just overwhelmed. I when we went, and so sometimes for 3 or 4 days, I don't see their text, you know, because they text me, and then I get a bunch of texts, and I go through my, oh my gosh. You know, and so this week, what do I? Somebody tell me.
You know, GW, can I address GW? I just want to say, what GW is saying is 100% true. GW texts me probably 20 times a week with another family, another one with little kids, another, it is coming at a pace that is almost unsustainable. No doubt for GW as well as for me on the other end. And no doubt, Amy, I've thought about your question a lot, GW, in terms of what do you do? What should I be saying to you to do? And I don't know the answer except to say that one of the thoughts that I've had is, well, we need to get more people on this text thread, people who need to join us in trying to solve this problem. As much as we want to say that the answer is call 211, the answer is not call 211 if 211 doesn't have any place to, you know, we're just putting somebody in spin cycle when we're just telling them to call 211 and then there's no place on the other end of 211. So I don't know the answer, GW, to the question that you're asking. I just wanted to acknowledge what you're saying is true, and that we do need to come up with a better way, other than, you know, the word of mouth is powerful. The word of mouth is powerful, which is what we're seeing. So GW, you know, helps shepherd one person to getting services. That then begins to spread, and now we're up to, I don't know what, 20 a day. Trying to shepherd people into the right intervention. So I don't know the answer. I just want to say to you that I am also giving that great thought about what it is that we need to do.
I mean, I think, and I don't have the answer either, but I've thought about it a lot too. And what I think about when GW sends us folks and we try to address it is the thing I feel like we have invested not enough resources in as a community is that kind of peer support, lived experience kind of thing, right? GW is a trusted face in the community, and people know if they go to him, he's gonna call somebody and he's gonna figure it out. And so if we're ever going to address that disparity, then that's got to look different, right? Calling 211 isn't going to work for everybody. And so how do we arm people like GW with resources and tools and training and pay them for doing that work in order to help us, you know, have a different way of getting to our goal? So that is probably something we need to have some discussion about.
I believe we have Trinity with her hand up on Zoom.
Is it my time?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, great. Thank you. I certainly appreciate the progress over the last 10 years. That's very helpful to see that progress. It's very encouraging. I'm just wondering, Amy, and going forward, are we going to be reaching out more to the business community, actually seeing them as partners, you know, officially? And did you also look at perhaps how we're going to use our voices in terms of advocating for these targeted populations?
I think that's a great question. Yes, we have a target list for membership, and the business community is a part of that. So we have somebody now dedicated to that work, and hopefully we'll be able to make a bigger wave with that next year. To address advocacy, you have a COC advocacy committee that I've brought ideas to multiple times this year and didn't move anything forward. So I can't do that work alone. If you're interested in advocacy and you want to join that committee and you'd like to do some advocacy work, I'm happy to help guide that. But we really need your direction on what you want us to be advocating for. You know, we are employed at the pleasure of you. I can't just decide on my own, these are the things that we're advocating for. We certainly use our voice and make a difference when we know something is in action. But there were multiple ideas brought forward in every meeting. The answer was, let us think about that and come back to another meeting. And so maybe in 2022, we can reform that committee and make a difference there.
Great, thank you.
I'll, and I know we got to move on the agenda, but I'll address the business part of it. It's from my seat, it's incumbent upon all of the COC board members and members of the COC to engage our local businesses. We all have our own unique connections and relationships with them. I think what we talked about at the executive level, maybe our last meeting, was the basic support of why businesses need to get involved and should be involved, or why municipalities need to spend more resources. And I think this report and other things that are going to be coming down the pipe will help that. At the end of the day, it's a case of support, and it's especially for businesses. They need a business reason most of the time to get involved. So we need to build out as a COC with the help of the HLA. But it's on all of us to kind of bring those individuals to the table and based on our relationships and connections in the community. Do we have anything else on?
It looks like we're good.
Good. Okay. Thank you. We will move on to the next agenda item, which is the Debbie Johnson Memorial Award. We talked, unfortunately, Debbie Johnson, who was just stalwart in our community and especially on the COC board and held a ton of different leadership positions within the COC, unfortunately passed away suddenly this year. In one of our board meetings, we made a decision to, we wanted to memorialize Debbie's impact on the COC, and our board came up with an annual award to be given out at this annual meeting to somebody who really exemplified what Debbie stood for, which at the end of the day was advocacy and problem solving and just housing people. You know, that's really so. We do have her husband Joe and her sister Sharon here with us. Joe, do you want to say a couple words?
Just we're honored to be here. Thank you.
We could not be more thankful to the family for being here today. So thank you. And I know we went a couple rounds at our board meeting about Debbie and the impact, and GW shared some really impactful stories that still stuck with me. So thank you again for being here. This is the first iteration of what we were this award, and we wanted to make sure that it was awarded at this annual meeting, so it kind of came together in short fashion. And I thank everybody from the HLA and everybody. We had, I know, excellent nominations. Really excellent nominations, and I can say this as the chair and speaking for the executive committee who reviewed these applications. Everybody who was an applicant was deserving of this award. which then led to other conversations of maybe, what else can we do to recognize individuals for their service to the community and specifically to the homeless population in the CoC. But that being said, we had to pick one. And at the end of the day, after a lot of debate, I think it was a unanimous decision. This individual has spent over 40 years in the community working with at-risk, in-need individuals in housing. They have led an organization and a team to build literally thousands of units within our community for the in-need, the homeless population, individuals with severe and persistent mental illness. They've brought millions, tens of millions, probably hundreds of millions of dollars into our community from various sources. And when you talk about being an advocate like Debbie Johnson, when you talk about being a problem solver, right? What's the problem? Let's just get this done. How do we house more people? We could not come up with a better person than Mr. Gary McBride. You want to say a couple words? I know you can even have this chair.
And for those of you who don't know, Gary and Debbie were also very close, so it was very special for this to be able to go together. And it's a surprise, so he had no idea.
See a lot of people know. First of all, my salute to Debbie. She got it. She got it that housing authorities need to be a key player in ending homelessness. And she put the money on the table. Thank you. I also want to thank all my board here and the colleagues for this wonderful work. I'm sure many of my colleagues are just as deserving, and hopefully we'll be up here in years to come. Thank you all. Love you. By the way, you won't see me again. Actually, we will, because I'm going to go to work with GW.
So good.
I'll get a picture, and especially with the family too. Thank you again for being here, and thank you for all the nominations. They were truly deserving, but we're just happy that we can honor Debbie.
I do want to share the story that April shared at the executive committee when we reviewed these, because it's seared in my brain. This year we had a relatively easy time with rank and review. It has not always been that way. We have sat for hours into the evening, sometimes trying to decide where it should come from. Every population needed the money. Every population was needed to make a good HUD application. And I remember, and April reminded us at the executive committee, every year, Gary would turn and look at Debbie, and Debbie would nod her head and say, "I got you." And at some point, almost every year for many years, that is the only way that we kept our system whole, was through the work of Debbie.
Yeah, Gary would give up housing vouchers, and Debbie would give them back, and we kept our system whole. Year after year, it brings tears to my eyes right now as I talk about it. Year after year it happened. And we should all be internally grateful to not only Debbie, but to Gary McMath. If you've never been to a BOLI housing, I would encourage you to go. Every one of us would live there. Every one of us would live in one of those homes, in one of those apartments. They're beautiful, and they are exactly what we should be doing for the people who need us. And I am eternally grateful to Gary McMath and Foley and all of his staff who he has led to embrace that mission, and we should all be very, very grateful.
That's so good.
Well, we could go on for days about Gary. I'm sure he'd love that. So I'm going to move on to the next agenda item, which is reviewing the voting rules and procedures. Again, this is a new process for the COC, membership voting on the board. And I'm going to turn that over to Ms. Foster to kind of give us a reminder.
Okay, so this is a little bit different than how we did things in the past, right? We did this at the COC board level, and membership actually votes on the board that represents them. There are a number of rules that go along with that that were set forth in membership. Every agency only receives one vote, and you had to be a paid member with a renewal application on file or a new application 2 weeks prior to the vote per the charter. So we have Victoria Kelly online who's going to lead us through the voting. We are going to have to do a roll call vote. So she will call your name and your agency, and you will need to unmute if you're online, or speak out loud here so that we can ensure that every agency only gets one vote. Victoria, do you have any other instructions for us?
No, just please, make sure that I have your name and agency correct. Please, if you don't hear me correctly, don't assume it's you, and just shout out your vote. Please clarify. And that's really all that I have. Okay.
Is the plan to take the votes individually on these nominees, or can they be done in mass?
Yes, so that's what we were just discussing. We have always presented a slate, and it depends on the motion that is made. So you can choose to approve the whole slate, or you can choose to pull someone out and say, you want to vote on the at-large role, the veteran role, et cetera, and go down. So it will depend on whatever motion you make from the audience.
And there's also a nomination, we believe, or that's going to be made from the floor, which mechanically could happen before this slate, and we can vote on the entire slate to make it a little bit more easier.
Okay, well, with that in mind, I would like to make a motion, a nomination from the floor for the at-large seat. Chris Spring is this gentleman's name. He is with Raymond James. And he is with us online. Thank you, Chris, for being with us. He is currently very interested in solving the problem of homelessness, in particular through affordable housing development and acquisition. He came to know us after he himself discovered a gentleman who I believe was a veteran living in a storage shed. He searched everywhere to try to get help, ultimately was connected to Dana Kelly with Directions for Living, and together they worked to rehouse this individual. And as a result, Chris really said, I want to get involved. I want to help. I do quite a bit with affordable housing development through Raymond James, and I would like to get involved. And so I would like to bring him forward as an at-large member for the COC.
Okay, so we have a nomination from the floor, which I think can just be
added to this list.
considered. So then Mr. Spring is now have been nominated and considered within the slate. I would entertain a motion on the membership of, do we want to send anybody one?
Move that we accept the slate as presented with the addition of Mr. Spring.
Okay, do we need a motion or a second on that?
Second, this is Renee.
I think I saw Mickey first, so so we have a motion and a second on the floor to accept the slate of nominees for board appointments, including the nomination for the floor, Chris Spring. Do we have any discussion?
I just want to thank the COC members and the COC board. This has been an arduous process in the past. And this year, all year long, people were like, I have somebody, can I send this? And I'm really proud of the slate that your executive committee put together. We added some seats when you made the charter change. So we will have someone from transportation representing us with PSTA. We are adding a North County formerly homeless person from HEP. We really struggled with our choices. We had so many good choices, and we were able, the reason for the nomination from the floor was kind of some puzzle pieces moving around to also have another person with lived experience sit in the veteran seat. So I just wanted to say a deep thank you from me that all year long folks were interested and engaged in adding folks that can help get us where we're going.
I just have one question, this is for discussion. Are we retaining diversity on our board? I know that I have been one advocating for that for the last 3 years. I've met with members who are of other races and ethnicities are still board members, and we'll continue to try to address that, particularly considering the data that we have that shows regions.
It is a good point, Teresa. I will mention, and I didn't recalculate it based on this, but they aren't replacing any seats of diversity. So we should be, but y'all have made some great headway in that area. We have more work to do, but in the last 2 years, we went from 4% representation to 29% representation. And our rank and review committee was either 33 or 38 off the top of my head. So we're going in the right direction, but we absolutely need to keep up the work in that area.
Thank you for holding us accountable to that and all your support. Any other discussion? Do we have anything from Zoom land?
I do not see anybody.
Well, we have a motion and second on the floor. Seeing or hearing no other discussion, I will go ahead and open it up for a roll call vote. Please be patient.
Aye.
No. Okay, so Victoria, are you gonna call the name?
Sorry, I was thrown by the eye. Okay. So forgive me if I call on some people who are not here between in person and Zoom. It's a little bit hard to get it right. But I'm just going to go down the list. Kathleen Beckman with the City of Clearwater.
Yes.
Christine Bond with St. Vincent de Paul Kitchen and Resource.
I know she wasn't able to attend.
Randy Bergen.
Not able to attend.
Kevin Chenant with Salvation Army.
Aye.
Andrew Coble with Family Resources.
Doug here for Family Resources.
Oh, and is that an I, Nicole?
Yes, sorry.
That's okay. Do I have Duggan Cooley or David Bender from the Pinellas Community Foundation?
Yes.
Duggan.
Duggan.
Okay, and that's an I. And do I have Trina Cox?
Yes, that's an I.
Lottie Cuthbertson from Genuine Healthcare Institute.
I, if you couldn't hear.
I'm sorry, did you, I heard I and isn't here.
No, if you couldn't hear her, it was an I.
Oh, thank you. Bailey Dressman. Mark Dufa from Hope Villages of America.
Aye.
Esther Eugene, All Administrative Solutions.
That's an I, Victoria, and the new name is Esther Matthews.
Thank you for the update, and I'm going to go ahead and make a note of that now, Esther.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Deborah Fig Sanders, City of St. Petersburg.
Deborah is not here and Teresa is her proxy.
So I'm voting aye.
And Renee Flowers, Pinellas County Board of Commissioners.
Here, that's an I.
Lariana Forsyth from CASA.
Aye.
Daisy Gallick from Baycare.
That's an I.
I have to apologize for butchering people's names. It's never been my strong suit. Russell Graves.
He couldn't make it.
He didn't make it.
That's what I thought. And Lieutenant, I'm sorry, I have Lieutenant Colonel Paul Carey.
Aye.
Mary Higby or Piper Vanderlee from Seasons Hospice. Okay. Donna Hulk from the City of Largo.
She couldn't make it. She said conference.
Okay, and we didn't have Seasons in person either, is that correct?
No.
Okay, just making sure. Beth Houghton from the Juvenile Welfare Board.
We have Jennifer Ortega here for I.
Aye, okay. Michael Gelazzo with PERC.
Aye.
And Teresa Jones, I have you down here as an individual member as well.
She only gets one vote, so you're good.
Blossom Capper, Department of Veterans Affairs. Chris Kovac.
Aye.
April Lott with DFL or Rachel Smith.
Aye. April Lott.
And Ashley Lowry with PEP or Zach White.
Zach White, good morning.
Hi, is that an I, Zach?
I'm sorry, yes, it is.
Thank you. Michael Lundy with the St. Pete Housing Authority.
I do not see Mr. Lundy online and he is not in person.
Okay. Gary McMath with Boley, or do we have Kevin Marone?
Yay.
Was that an I?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Larry MacArthur with West Care or Katrina Tucker.
Aye.
Dee Manji with Brookwood or Angie Gibney.
Aye.
Alexia Morrison with Reach.
I do not see Alexia here and don't see her online.
Okay. Stephanie Owens.
Stephanie Owens is not here either.
Okay. Sam Picard. Sam Picard with Misio. I know I saw you on here earlier.
He was, but I'm not seeing him now.
Okay. Robin Red with the City of Tarpon Springs or Kelly Hale.
Kelly is here.
She is, yes.
Kelly, are you able to unmute yourself and vote for Robin?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, can now.
Yes, it's an I.
Thank you, Kelly.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, GW.
Brendan, aye.
Thank you. Keith Sable with the City of Tarpon Springs.
That's Pinellas Park, but I'm not saying.
I don't know. Sorry about that. Have you down the wrong city there. Okay, and we have James Scott from the Sierra Club. Didn't see him either. Ross Silvers, PSTA.
He was here.
Yeah, should be.
He was here. He got a phone call earlier and hasn't been back for a while, so.
Okay. In that case, Michelle Snyder with Empowered to Change. Hi. Todd St. John Fulton. Not see him earlier. Okay. Jennifer Strayk with Alpha House.
Aye.
Janet Stringfellow with Volunteers of America.
She's not here either.
Okay. Aaron Swift.
He couldn't make it.
He couldn't make it.
Mickey Thompson or Edward Perry with 211 Tampa Bay Cares.
Mickey Thompson, aye.
Thank you. Okay, now we have the City of Tarpon Springs. Do we have Costa here? Costa?
Not saying.
Okay. Already done Volunteers of America. Glenn Wilder, Southern Supportive Services.
Here, aye.
And Jennifer Williams. Okay. Well, that does bring us to the end of the list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 27 ayes.
All right, all are in favor, motion passes unanimously. Thank you to all the new board members who will start in the January board meeting. So I'm sure Ms. Foster and HLA team will be reaching out, but congratulations and thank you for your willingness to serve, and thanks to all the membership for being engaged and voting on
Thank you,
the new
guys.
board slate for 2022. So congratulations, everybody. Coming down to the end of the agenda, pass it over to Victoria or Ms. Foster for updates on point in time count cold night shelter.
We thought that we're going into the season of cold weather, and we wanted everybody to know what's happening with cold night shelter as well as PIT. So we'll have a really brief update because we are going to run out of time, but Victoria is in charge of both of those projects, and I'll let her take it from here.
Hi, everybody. Hi again. So I won't take up too much time like Amy said, but cold night shelter season is about to start November 15th through March 15th. And the cold night shelters are activated when the weather drops below 40 degrees. I don't know about y'all, I've lived in Florida for 21 years now, and I don't own winter clothes. And, you know, I have somewhere comfortable to be. So, you know, the people that we are serving are in desperate need of a good, safe, warm place to go, a warm meal on these cold nights, often wet nights. So we have 8 shelters that pop up, and thankfully, we also have the assistance of St. Vincent de Paul helping out with some families during these nights. But we have 8 shelters popping up throughout the county, and we need help. Quite honestly, I need volunteers for some of these shelters, especially our shelters in Clearwater. I need help with this. We could use some donations. We could use assistance. The number of volunteers that it takes for this is upwards of 150, and it takes, I think, over 7,000 volunteer hours. The shelter's open about 4 times a year for about 3 nights on average. So it's a big undertaking, and we could use your help. And I will be sure to put a link to the volunteer sign up page and to information about Cold Night Shelter in the chat for you. And then as far as the point in time count is concerned, I don't need to tell y'all how important the point in time count is. This information is how we get our resources. So we need help right now. We have just over 100 volunteers. Now that is including both volunteer leaders and regular volunteers. We need over 350 volunteers in total. So we have a long way to go. We have 84 out of 300 regular volunteers. We need help. There is nobody better positioned to help us do this point in time count, get out there, make sure that every person experiencing sheltered and unsheltered homelessness is accounted for, so that we can send these numbers to HUD and DCF so that our community can get the funding and resources that we need so that we're able to help people like we want. I'm going to put the sign up for both of these things in the chat. You have also received emails about this, and I'm going to put my contact information in here as well. If you haven't received an email about this, please reach out to me. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. If you want to get more involved, please reach out to me. We would love to have your help. The HLA is trying really, really hard to involve as many of our community partners as possible. And we are trying really hard to grow our list of community partners. So we are asking you, I am begging you to please, please help. I know that I don't need to tell y'all how important all of this is, even though I already have. I know that you know this. I know that you have the will and the heart. So please, please, please sign up, share it with your team, share it with your friends, share it with your family. I've already guilted my husband into signing up. Please do the same. And if you have any questions about it, please let me know. But that's kind of what that's my little stand on a soapbox and beg y'all for things.
A short presentation. Due to timing, you do have a PowerPoint that was in your membership packet materials. So you have a flyer there, you have all the links. You need those. Victoria will also put them in the chat for those of you who are online. But let us know if you have any questions, and I just wanted to point you to some more specific materials in your packet.
And if you didn't hear it, that was a call to action. We need volunteers at the point in time count. So please, if you haven't volunteered, please do. And if you can connect the HLA with an organization that can provide volunteers, please do. So thank you, Victoria, for that.
I will mention what is usually most helpful. Like Teresa wrote a letter and sent it to the entire city of St. Pete asking for staff to be able to address it. We can deploy volunteers from a number of resources. However, we do need trained professional staff to be the team leads. And so we need all of your agencies to have folks sign up that we can put in those team lead roles so that there's a trained professional along with the general public.
Oh, and I'm so sorry for not saying this, but for anybody who doesn't know, the point in time count is January 27th. Shifts are 3 hours long. You can sign up for 4 of them if you want to, but if we only get you for 1, we're grateful for that.
I just came back from a conference in Cincinnati yesterday, and one of the initiatives for us was, one of the topics was homelessness, and how our industry is going to continue to be an advocate for helping to solve that problem. And one of the things that we're going to be doing locally with our apartment association is looking for volunteers to assist and help in that effort. So this might be, if I bring back to our board, this might be a call for action for us, where I don't know what kind of experience would be needed, But I have a lot of people, I'm sure that'd be willing, especially during the holidays, to do whatever's necessary.
We can absolutely deploy people with no experience at all. Yeah.
Okay. I'll do that.
Thank you. Well, we are at the end of the agenda. We have a couple minutes left. We have a board meeting after this. So I want to give everybody a little bit of time to eat some council member Beckman's brownies and use the restroom and whatnot. But before we adjourn, I want to thank everybody for being here again. Debbie's her family for being here. I want to thank Allendale United Methodist for hosting us and being such great hosts for this meeting. I see GW, you have a minute.
Thank you for the minute. Listen, on my way here, I'd like to thank Mark for always taking care of me, taking my dog where you know,
Not quite.
But the thing is that I saw maybe 10 people. Okay, now I live in got my skate side of town, so it's like you're gonna see 4 people. But I saw people in bus stops, people under awnings, music, sleeping with bags and stuff like that. And so, having been homeless myself, I wanted to tell you that these are the most difficult days. Okay, these are the most days. It's like a week like this, 2 weeks. It's like particularly COVID, you know. And what there had never been, okay, and only is a central place, okay, where people can meet, okay, central location where it's sort of like that gymnasium for people to just sit, okay, because the physical object must occupy the space, okay, and so for people to sit and for people to, you know, it's like they'll probably provide their own entertainment. And just people walking around supervising, making Kool-Aid or doing whatever they do, making sandwiches. Okay? But it's like some places for people to maintain and focus their dignity. And you have to make it. It's like living in a refrigerator. And so if somebody could put a vision in their head of a building, I know this would be a perfect place for people to rest. And get a vision. That's all I have.
Thank you for, again, bringing us to the reality of what the situation is. So with that, we will adjourn the continuing care annual meeting. We'll take a 10-minute break and we'll be back for the board meeting. So thanks, everybody. Meeting adjourned.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Stay safe and dry.
You had the better idea about me. That stupid owl can see up my dress. It's like, watch what's showing there, baby.